Welcome to my YouTube channel. This is a channel where I investigate past murder mysteries and use the tarot cards to gain additional insights whenever possible. Today we're looking at the Villisca Axe Murders, which occurred on the evening of June 9th, 1912, or the very early mornings of June 10th, 1912, in the town of Villisca in southern Iowa. 6 members of the Moore family and 2 house guests were found bludgeoned in the Moore residence. All 8 victims, including 6 children, had severe head wounds from an axe. A lengthy investigation yields several suspects. One was tried twice. In the end, hung jury and acquittal, and the crime to this day remains unsolved. The Moore family consisted of the parents, Josiah B., age 43, Sarah Montgomery, age 39, and their 4 children, Herman, age 11, Mary Catherine, 10, Arthur Boyd, 7, Paul Vernon, 5. An affluent family, the Moores were well known and well liked in their community. On the evening of June 9th, Mary Catherine Moore invited Ina May and Lena Gertrude Stillinger, Ina May was 8, Lena was 12, to spend the night at the Moore residence. That evening, the visiting girls and the Moores attended a Presbyterian church where they participated in a Children's Day program, which Sarah herself had coordinated. After the program ended around 9:30 p.m., the Moores and the Stillinger sisters walked to the Moore house, arriving at 9:45 to 10-ish, somewhere there at night. At 7 a.m. the next day, Mary Peckham, the Moore's neighbor, became concerned that the Moore family had not come out to do their morning chores. She knocked on the door. Nobody answered. She tried to open the door. It was locked. So she let their chickens out and called Ross Moore, Josiah's brother. Like Peckham, Moore received no response when he knocked on the door and he shouted. He unlocked the door with his copy of the house key while Peckham stood on the porch. Moore went in, opened the guest bedroom where he found Ina and Lena bodies on the bed. He immediately told Peckham to call Henry Hank Horton, Villisca's primary peace officer, who arrived shortly thereafter. Horton's search of the house revealed the entire Moore family and the 2 Stillinger girls had been bludgeoned to death. The murder weapon, an axe belonging to Josiah, was found in the guest room where the Stillinger sisters were found. The doctor concluded that the murders took place between midnight and 5 a.m. 2 spent cigarettes in the attic suggested that the killer or killers patiently waited in the attic until the Moore family and the Stillinger guests were asleep. The killer or killers began in the master bedroom where Josiah and Sarah were sleeping. Josiah received more blows from the axe than any other victim. His face was cut to the extent that his eyes were missing. They used the blade on Josiah while the blunt end on the rest of the victims. They proceeded into the children's room and bludgeoned Henry, Mary Catherine, Arthur, and Paul in the head in the same manner as the parents. They returned to the master bedroom to inflict more blows on the elder Moores, knocking over a shoe that had been filled with blood before moving downstairs to the guest bedroom and killing Ina and Lena. Investigators believe that all the victims except for Lena had been asleep when murdered. They thought she was awake and tried to fight back because she was found lying crosswise on the bed, a defensive wound on her arm, nightgown pushed up above her waist, wearing no undergarments, leading the law to speculate that the killer sexually molested her or attempted to do so. Over time, the suspects of this case included Andy Sawyer, but there was no real evidence to link him to the crime, but his name came up. He was an unaccounted stranger who they just, considered a suspect because Thomas Dwyer of Burlington, Iowa, bridge foreman, indicated that Andy approached his crew at 6 a.m. on the morning of the murders, and he was clean-shaven, brown suit, and he was given a job on the spot, and he purchased a newspaper, and he was just fascinated by this. However, he did have an alibi, or it was proven that he was in Osceola, Iowa on the night of the murder, and he was not considered. Reverend George Kelly, an English-born traveling minister, had a peculiar personality, suffered mental breakdown. He also was accused of peeping and having girls pose nude for him. So he was actually admitted that he did it, but they didn't believe him because of his mental disorder. And for the most part, he had a laid back, calm demeanor. Frank Jones had a business and Josiah as a store, and Josiah opened his own store, and there was a rival between them. So there is a theory that Frank Jones hired William Mansfield to do the murder. And so this is interesting, and I'm not going to cover a couple more that were cleared because there's no point if they're cleared. Now, Paul Mueller, Mueller, or Miller, Miller, also became a suspect when The Man from the Train book by Bill James and his daughter Rachel McCarthy James researched the Villisca murders, and they were trying to track down other murders, like serial killer type of murders, and believe they did so, and put down that Paul Miller would be a suspect. And he followed the train routes, and he used the blunt end, covered the bodies. There was a lot of similarities, and he had allegedly committed the murder of 2 people 4 hours away, which by train, that's not it's doable. 5 days before this murder. So they have some compelling information in their book. What I want to do at this point is turn to the tarot cards, because sometimes the tarot cards will offer insights into this horrific crime. So here is the pictures of Josiah and Sarah, Herman, Mary Catherine, Arthur, Paul, and the 2 Stillinger girls. Was a tragic day in that small community when they had to bury an entire family. So let's ask the cards. I like to start with the Haunted House Tarot, just because this deck is kind of carved out to be a little scary, and it can handle a horrific crime like this. So I'm going to ask, what is the motive? What was the motive? Was there a motive? Actually, we should say, was there a motive in the Villisca Axe Murders? Was there a motive there? Women, okay. That's interesting. So there was maybe an obsession with women. Okay, definitely there was something sexual. There was definitely this person had some kind of like a sexual perversion or something of women. That's interesting. So did one killer murder the entire group? Was it one killer, one person? Did one person murder all 8 people in that house? Was it one person? Oh, wait a minute though. Oh, this tells us, okay, so this is what I mean by reading the cards in a multi-dimensional or way, okay? So here we have the 4 of Wands, and we have what looks like a group, right? Like a satanic group. However, the person in the back is the key. So I won't be moving this around. I'll just show it to you. So you would normally think, wow, this is kind of a group, like a satanic group or some kind of group. And then you got one person back there doing it all. So this just tells me that they were had multiple personality disorder, or they had some kind of disorder, like they had an evil side, a good side. You know, some serial killers will go to work and people will say they're nice people and they don't know there's this dark side. There's this dark side to them. But that's one person with the weapon in the back doing the murders, hitting them with the blunt side. All right. So we know that this is one person. All right. So I'm going to ask my go-to deck, which is the Universal Weight, to walk us through right up to where did the killer, enter the house? How did the killer, take us through that, evening or right up until the murders. Take us through what happened. I found that this format gives me a lot of information when I use my go-to deck. All right, take us through the events. And this is kind of a theme. Secret, hidden. Okay, they hid in the attic. Yes, there was 2 spent cigarettes. So they hid. So here's the high priestess. They were hiding. All right, so they waited in hiding. They were waiting. It was a secret. All right, nobody knew they were there. Shh, I'm hiding. Okay. All right, and then the timing had to be right. This is about the timing, the wheel. The timing had to be right for the dark to come around, right? So they had to wait for everybody to be in the same situation. So, which is probably sleeping. All of these corner things have books, right? So this means that they all had to be in the same position, which is probably sleeping. And then this lay in waiting. The devil or whatever this is lays in waiting for the timing. The wheel is the timing. Laid in waiting. Okay. This gives us some information that this person traveled a distance on a path to get here. So they came from, they were a traveler. They were a traveler. So this was a new area to them. It was a new area to them. And is there anything else? I'm looking at the foot. I don't know why I'm looking at the foot in the water. You know what? I feel like they cleaned up their items in the water because it was important for their clothes not to have any blood on them. So I feel like they cleaned up in water and headed down their path again. I feel like this was a traveler just because I'm really focused on that path. This wasn't somebody who lived in the area. I think this was a traveler. So this just tells me that they hit them in the head because there's a head injury, that they mainly focused on the head, and that would restrict the person's movement. If they hit them in the head, it restricted their movement. So that was the first thing that this murderer wanted to do, is get the head, which would restrict their movement. They couldn't defend themselves if they got blasted in the head and they almost instantly killed them. There would be no fight, there would be no nothing. So it would restrict their movement with the head injury. So this is why the person, and also this person utilized this. To me, this is the axe and high energy. Like this person was in a state of like high energy when they bludgeoned them. Always the same. Do you notice? Always the same pattern, because the 8 of Swords is the pattern card. Always the same pattern. Look for the same pattern. So I think those people that wrote the book were spot on in looking for someone who maybe traveled around and did things in a similar way. That is where the cards are saying. And this person was definitely high energy when it came to doing this type of harm. He's got the weapon in his hand. And wow, we have 2 pattern cards. Here's a pattern and here's a pattern. So this person was not, they were a traveler. I don't even think they had a home base. I don't feel like this person had a home base. I think they were just floating around. They just floated around. I don't know that they really had a place that they called, home, because that's like on the road all the time. This is someone, these are multiple coffins, if you want to call them in this case, multiple coffins. This person had if we had a diagnosis back then, this person with the red cross here would have had a diagnosis for being not stable in their mind. And they had no problem sending people to their deaths into the coffins. They had no problem doing that whatsoever, because they were not of stable or sound mind. And so the cards are indicating that there's a strong desire to shine a light on the facts surrounding this. Like look at the weapon closely. Now, it was Josiah's axe that was used. So this person probably didn't go on a train carrying an axe because that would have been a big flag, right? So we have, whenever this card comes up, it means somebody in spirit is frustrated and they're trying to help. So I'm going to jump to my cards and say, who's trying to offer us help in this case? And I have a deck that I call the Steampunk, and it will tell us, we will be able to communicate with someone. Now, we don't know who's trying to reach out to us, but someone from spirit is trying to reach out to us. So who's trying to reach out to us in order to tell us more about this case? Who's trying to reach out to us? This is the Steampunk. Oh my gosh, there's an angel up in the sky trying to reach out to the people. It's either the husband or the wife. So this is the married couple. Oh, it's her. Oh, it's her. So this is the couple. This would be Josiah and Sarah. And this is Sarah. She's trying to, okay, Sarah, speak your piece right now. What do you want to tell us? The weapon. And how evil this person was. And she got hit. She got hit in the forehead first with one weapon, one blunt force. She got hit in the head. So did you know? Did that kill you instantly? Did you know? What do you want to say? What do you want to say about this? Whenever this card comes up, it means I cannot believe that I'm talking to you on these paper cards. Okay, yes, these are paper cards and I can communicate with you. So go ahead and just tell your story if you feel compelled to do that. Because we're here and we're here to listen to you. Oh, the children suffered terribly. She felt horrible for the children, particularly the two children that were outside of their home, which means those other children. She's like, they lost their whole family. And there was a difference, the 8 and the 12-year-old. So she's definitely talking about the Stillinger children and how they, how she felt responsible. She's got guilt because she asked them to stay overnight that night. It wasn't your fault, Sarah. You didn't know there was a murderer in the house. Hanged man. She's like, he should have been hanged. Was he hanged for a later crime, or should he have been hanging? Was that even done back then? That's interesting. I wonder if there were hangings back then. So you want him to be hanged, or he was hanged for a different crime? What are you saying? Okay, so this is deception. This is deception around, I feel like this could be when she shows me a hanged person, because I have to interpret this through the symbols on the card. I feel like turn your attention around, like who they were focused on, they were deceived. It wasn't who they thought it was. This is the moon card, deception, next to the hangman. So it's almost like they thought it was somebody, but she wanted to turn their attention that it might have been. Do you know who did this, Sarah? Do you know who killed all of you? Do you know that who did? What are you showing me? It's got it's always a head injury. It's got the head wrapped up. So she's telling me that this was a man and he was skilled at machinery or forging. Like maybe he was a blacksmith or a forger or did some kind of, mechanical work back then. Measuring the pressure of machines. Maybe he was like a machinist or something. And he would look for certain situations in which to kill. Did you know this at the time, Sarah, or have you discovered this since you've been passed? Okay, since she's been passed. Okay. She's still showing This is another card where she's still kind of slightly confused about how I can communicate with these cards. These are tarot cards here. But this has been since she went to the light, so since she passed. She's done some research on the other side since she's passed. Okay. So, what are you wanting to tell us? So, there's a hand coming out, and so she didn't see who did this to her. See the weapon? One weapon was used, hit her on the head, and she was not able to see who did this. So he struck her in a way that she was not able. So I don't know if she knows, because this person's not showing up. I think she's suspecting it was a machinist or somebody who looked, to do this. But honestly, with this hand there and nobody there, I don't think she knows who did this, which would also validate a stranger coming from another path, that even if she did see them, which it doesn't look like she did. It looks like he knew enough to hit him like right in the eyes and the face, so there would be no, if anybody even suspected to survive, they wouldn't see who did it. So I think there was something there to where they didn't see him. He hit him in the eyes first or something. It feels like that. Someone else wants to peek through the veil. Oh, one of the children. One of the children is peeking through the veil, now becoming interested in this. So thank you, Sarah, for your information. We're going to do everything we can to find out about this. And she's defiant. She's angry. And they all show this weapon. They keep showing this is the Knight of Wands again, which is the same knight that came up with the fiery horse rearing up and then this weapon in the hand. So this young girl, which was a victim's coming through, saying that this was like so a page is a child. This is someone who might be 30, might be middle-aged, might be 30, something like that, in their 30s. They're not in that culture, what they deemed old. This was somebody that was young in shape, in good physical shape. I wonder who this child is that's coming through. Six of Swords. Oh, so they don't have a train in this deck, but she's saying that this person traveled. They traveled from city to city. So this is just the traveling card, that it wasn't somebody local. I don't know, that's coming up a lot. This was not somebody local. And oh my God, that's an actual axe in that card. I mean, it's got the axe handle. Oh, it's a sai, or an axe in this hand, a sai in this hand. So this person picked up different weapons at times. So they didn't always use an axe. They used other weapons. And they enjoyed the thought that they sent so many people to their grave. This young woman really would like to get revenge on this man. She would really like to do back to him what he did to her. She's really got a lot of revenge in her spirit. The rest of the children have moved on, gone to the light, moved on. They're not. The rest of the children there have moved on. This one has not. She has not moved on. She's bitter, she's angry, but this is the Four of Wands. This is the rest of the children moving on. Let's see if we can, let's ask a question. Was the murderer ever caught even for another crime? Was the murderer ever caught even if it was for another crime? Was the murderer ever caught, the axe murder ever caught? Staring at the this is the Four of Cups card with the Anna K deck. I don't think they were caught. I don't think this person was caught. So I'm going to ask a direct question. Was Robert Miller, did Robert Miller do these crimes, and I'm going to use two different decks for this. Did Robert Miller, did he commit these crimes? Did Robert Miller commit these crimes? Oh, I can stop there. Oh, God, that scared me. I'm looking at this through my camera lens, and all of a sudden I see these two hands. I was like, whoa, this is the Ace of Wands, folks, and that's always my yes card. I don't have to pull anymore because it looks like he did this. And what was there any kind of consequence from him? Like, did he ever pay a price for doing this? Did he ever pay a price for doing all these murders? Oh my God. Oh, is it possible that he was murdered? Well, that's the Ten of Swords, and that's so many murders. He did so many murders. Like, he committed so many murders. I feel like he was murdering right up until he died. I feel like he's saying, or they're saying, that he committed so many murders right up until he died. That's so bizarre. Oh my God. Yeah, devil. He was sick. Oh, this is the devil card. Sorry. This is the devil card. Yeah, he was very sick. He was a very sick person. Wow. And then I also want to pull a card because for some reason the Druid, I think this is Druid Craft. It's a big deck. It wanted to come out. I don't know why. So I'm going to let it speak because it just insisted. And I use this for past life readings. I've never used it for normal readings, ever. It just doesn't have the images on there that speak to me. So what does this Druid Craft have to say about the Villisca Axe Murders? What do you have to say? It's interesting it wanted to come out. The Two of Cups. So Sarah and Josiah are together and happy in the afterlife. So that's the Two of Cups. So they happily reunited in the spirit world. Five of Swords. What did you do? What did you guys do? I don't know how to interpret this. It feels like Josiah took a weapon and got some kind of revenge on the murder, but this would be in the afterlife. Is that how I'm really supposed to read this? Because it's like he, in the end, he's telling me that in the end, the killer lost the battle. So something happened in the afterlife, and he's saying the killer lost the battle. Oh, God. What did you do, Josiah? This is the Nine of Swords. I mean, this is grieving the loss of the whole family, that like they cannot believe this happened to them. I mean, it's almost like they're still in grief on the other side. Huh. It just feels like, see the long path here? There's a path. It just feels like the whole family has, like moved on and gone down a different path. I want to ask, because the house appears to be haunted, I want to ask, are the spirits in the house any of the children or anyone who was murdered in the house? Are there any of that family, of the Moore family, are any of them haunting or hanging around the house, the Villisca house? Are any of them there from the family? Three of Wands. Yeah, I do feel like there's some of them there. Yeah, I feel like there's some of them there. What are they trying to do? Why are they hanging around the house? What are they trying to do? Ace of Cups. They got plunged into the spirit world and they were looking for their mother. This is the children who were plunged into the spirit world, and it looks like they were looking, but it looks like they found the mother. Is that a mother in the background? Yes. At first they couldn't find their mother. It feels like they're lost. They couldn't find their mother. Well, if they're still there, maybe they're still looking for their mother. Oh, God, I never thought about that. Huh. I mean, I thought that woman in the bed with the other card meant they were all in, well, they're all in spirit world, but I never thought about the children still looking for the mother, because a murder like that could make them earthbound for sure. So they think like some monster attacked them. You know, a child probably would. If they ended up dead, they probably would think it was a monster. This is like some monster. I'm going to actually communicate with the spirit of the house. I'm going to try, if there is one. Is there a spirit of the house that can talk to me? A spirit of the house. Is there a spirit of the house that can talk to me? I don't feel like there is one off planet. Okay. So that's off planet. Okay, not all houses have guardian spirits, and that one might not because of everything that happened. Is there any way to help the children that would be earthbound in that house? Is there any way to help them move to the light? Now, it might not be our business, so we have to pull a card. That's the King. It's the Master. I feel like when the timing is right, they will get out of the house. I feel like when the timing's right, they'll get out of the house. Right now, they, for whatever reason, their soul path or whatever, I don't have the right or permission to send them to the light, and therefore I won't do that. Because you always have to be aware of that. You know, it's sometimes they have a spiritual path, and you're not to interfere with it, so you can't. This will be interesting. When Paul Miller passed away, what was his immediate experience of the other side? When Paul Miller passed away, what was his immediate experience on the other side? This is going to be interesting. It's almost like he didn't know where he was. That's the Knight of Wands again. So everything here's like the Knight of Wands. That's that fired up card. I mean, that could almost be like he thought he was in hell because there's fires burning everywhere, and the Knight of Wands is very fiery. It's almost like he saw flames, and almost like in his belief system, he thought he was in hell. That's interesting. And then what? So he could not face himself. So he was alone and he couldn't face himself. So he didn't have a good death experience. Yeah. I wonder if he took his own life eventually, because this is almost like I had a hand in my own death, or something's weird about this. This is the Eight of Pentacles. Almost very ritualistic. It's almost like he went through the same ritual. See the ritual? It's almost like he went through the same ritual with each death, like the same, like he did the same thing with every death. It was like a habitual habit. It was this ritual. He always did this ritual. And he always went to hide at night with the weapon. He knew when the people were coming home. See, he knew. He looked for his victim. He had his weapon there. He took weapons from the house of the place where he was. And once again, this is the this is like either the two, oh, this is high priestess. There again, it's secret, kept everything a secret. It's interesting, it's going through the story from his view now. Oh, Five of Cups. So he's having to relive this over and over and over again. On the other side, he's suffering. That's the Five of Cups. So on the other side, the murderer is suffering because he has to keep reliving what he did over and over and over again to this family. So really, I want to commend the woman that did that book and her father, because I think that all the work that they did, I think paid off, because I think that they were on to something with looking at commonalities, and I'm just really impressed that they came up with a suspect that even, so Bill James and his daughter Rachel McCarthy James, great work on bringing out this, on the research you did for this Paul Miller as the suspect. The cards are indicating that you are 100% spot on. And so I think that this case is pretty well solved in that sense. That makes total sense. The cards said that this was a traveling person, sick in the mind, had ritualistic, carried the same ritual out for these murders. And as horrific as they were, I think that this case could be solved, and that it's him, and that their work was brilliant. Thank you all for joining my channel. I appreciate every one of you.